My name is Margaret Lane, but everyone around here just calls me Miss Lane. I've been driving a school bus for 17 years, Route 56, out in the quiet parts of Graham County, Arizona. If you've never been here, it's hard to explain. It's not the kind of desert people imagine when they think of Arizona. It's not flashy, not full of tourists and hiking trails. It's lonely, wide, and dry miles of empty road that melt into thorn bushes, broken fences, and hills that look like old bones sticking out of the earth. Most days, I like the silence. My route starts in Safford and loops through the outskirts places where half the mailboxes are tilted or missing, and the only sound in the morning is the wind brushing over sand. I pick up kids from scattered trailers and beat up ranch houses, and I drop them off again in the afternoon. Same faces, same stops, year after year. It's a quiet kind of job, the sort where you come to know the back roads better than your own hands. You get used to things out here, the way the heat shimmers above the blacktop, the weird creaks the bus makes when you hit the washboard roads. Too hard. You even get used to seeing the same dog waiting at the same fence every morning, tail wagging, tongue out, always watching. Out here, the desert feels alive, not in a magical way, in a watchful way, like something's paying attention. I've always believed it's best not to dig too deep into things that don't concern you. The land remembers things we've forgotten, and it doesn't always like being disturbed. Still, that last fall, before the school shut down, something changed. I still don't know how to explain it, not in a way that makes sense. I just know it started with a new kid. They always do. It was a Monday morning when I first saw him. He was standing at the edge of a dirt road I didn't usually drive down. Tall, thin, wearing a dark hoodie, even though it was already pushing 90 degrees. He didn't wave. He didn't move. Just stood there, staring straight ahead with a backpack hanging off one shoulder. I slowed the bus and pulled over, rolling the window down halfway. "You waitin' for the bus?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me. His eyes were pale, almost colorless. Made me think of creek water, the kind that's been still too long. "My name's Eric," he said finally. His voice was flat, like he was reading from a paper. "They told me to take this bus." That was strange, because the district was small, and new kids didn't just appear without someone telling me. No one had called about a transfer. No one mentioned a new student moving into that part of the county. But I figured maybe he was. From one of the ranch houses farther out. Families move around sometimes, especially when work dries up. "Well," I said, opening the door. "Come on then, let's get you to school." He stepped on board without a word and walked straight to the back, ignoring the other kids completely. Sat in the far right corner, put his bag in his lap, and stared out the window. The rest of the route was normal. Mostly Chloe and Bethany, the third-grade twins, were arguing over who got to sit closest to the emergency exit. Jared, a seventh grader who thought he was too cool for school, had his hoodie pulled up and earbuds in. The rest were quiet, half asleep, same as always. But I kept checking the mirror. The boy Eric never moved, never looked down at his phone, never pulled out a book, never even blinked, as far as I could tell. Just kept staring out the window like he was watching for something. When I pulled up at the school, all the kids stood up and filed out. Eric was the last one off. He stepped down onto the curb, then turned back to look at me. "Thank you, Miss Lane," he said, same flat voice, and then he smiled. It wasn't right. I don't know how else to describe it. His face moved the way it should, but there was something wrong underneath. Like someone had told him how to smile, and he was trying to get it right, but didn't understand what it meant. I watched him walk toward the front doors. I should have just let it go. I should have just driven away like I always did, but I stayed parked longer than usual that morning, watching the doors even after they closed behind him. That afternoon, I stopped by the school office like I usually do when there's something odd. It's nothing official, just a habit. I like to keep the roots clean. No surprises. I knocked twice on the frame before stepping inside. "Hey, June," I said. June Mallory was the front desk secretary, the kind of woman who keeps a candy jar for the kids but glares at anyone who takes two. She looked up over her glasses and gave me the same squint she always did, like she was trying to read me through fog. Double quotes. "Hey, Miss Lane, you okay? I picked up a new kid this morning. Said his name was Eric. Wore a dark hoodie, kind of tall, pale." She typed something into her computer and shook her head. "No new enrollments this week," she said. "You sure he said this school? I dropped him off here myself. Saw him walk through the doors." She frowned, then stood up. "Hold on, I'll check with the principal." I waited 5, maybe 10 minutes while she disappeared down the hallway. I looked around the office. There was a flyer about a bake sale, taped crooked on the wall. A poster that said "Be kind" in bubbly letters with cartoon children holding hands. When she came back, her expression was tight. "No one named Eric is enrolled here," she said. I laughed a little, just out of nerves. Maybe he gave me the wrong name. She didn't laugh, just stared at me. Double quotes. "No one new came through those doors this morning, Miss Lane." Mr. Hawthorne checked the cameras. No one fitting that description entered the school at all today. That ride home felt longer than usual. I kept glancing at the mirror, half expecting to see him again, sitting in the back seat, watching the road, like he had in the morning. But the seat was empty. I could see the whole row from the front. Desert light does strange things when it starts to go. Everything turns sharp and golden, and the shadows stretch like they're reaching for you. The kids were quiet. I dropped them off one by one. By the time I reached the last stop, an old trailer with a broken porch swing, the sun was halfway gone, and the wind had picked up just enough to rattle the windows. I checked the back of the bus one more time, still empty. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to the hum of the ceiling fan and the creak of the swamp cooler kicking on and off. I kept going over it in my head. He was real. I spoke to him. He climbed aboard, sat down, thanked me by name. I told myself there had to be a simple answer. A visiting cousin, maybe. A prank. Some miscommunication between offices. I wanted to believe that. But the next morning, he was there again. Same spot. Same hoodie. Same pale, glassy stare. This time, I didn't slow down right away. I kept going past him, heart pounding, my palms slick on the steering wheel. In the rear view, I saw him turn slowly, watching me drive away. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't stop again. But on the third day, he was gone. Everything went back to normal for about a week. I stopped jumping at shadows. The kids were loud again, arguing over snacks and window seats. I told myself it had been some mistake. My mind playing tricks. The heat does that to you out here. It dries you out from the inside and makes your thoughts run like water on hot asphalt, wavering and never quite staying straight. But then Chloe, one of the twins, said something strange. We were about halfway through the afternoon run, just past the bend near the dry wash, when she walked up to me at a red light. "Miss Lane?" she asked, voice small. "Yeah, sweetie. Who's the boy in the back?" I looked in the mirror. All I saw were the usual kids. Jared was slouched in his seat, with one earbud dangling. Bethany was pressing her face to the window like she always did. "There's no one back there," I said. She frowned and pointed. "Not in the seat. He's under it." My skin went cold. The kind of cold that doesn't belong in the desert. I forced a smile. "There's nothing under the seats, Chloe. It's just shadows." She didn't say anything else. She went back to her seat. But she didn't smile again for the rest of the ride. That night, I walked out to the bus in the dark. It was parked behind the district building, like always. Locked up, still warm from the day. I unlocked the front and climbed aboard, flashlight in hand. I don't know what I expected. I crouched down and looked beneath each seat, one by one. Dust, an old juice box, someone's missing hair tie. That was all, until I got to the back. Under the last row, tucked between the floor bolts, was something small and dark. I reached for it slowly. It was a notebook, one of those little black composition books the school gives out to kids who can't afford folders. I flipped it open. Every page was filled with the same sentence, written over and over in tight, slanted handwriting. Let me in. Over and over again. Dozens of times, hundreds. And at the very bottom of the last page, a drawing, a face, wide eyes, no mouth. I should have taken the notebook straight to the school, or maybe to the police. Instead, I brought it home. I didn't mean to. I don't even remember deciding. I just remember sitting on my couch that night, the little black book in my lap, flipping through page after page of that same sentence. Let me in. The handwriting was small and careful, like someone had taken their time with it. There were no smudges, no mistakes. It didn't look like a kid's writing. It looked deliberate, patient, obsessive. I tried to think logically. Maybe one of the kids dropped it. Maybe someone was playing a game, trying to scare the others. But that face, the drawing at the bottom of the last page, it wouldn't leave me alone. Just two huge, staring eyes and no mouth, no expression, just blankness, like it was watching you from behind the page. I put the book in a drawer. I told myself I'd turn it in the next day, but I didn't. The next morning, the boy was back. Same place, same stance, standing perfectly still by that dusty turnoff. And this time, I stopped. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could finally get an answer. Maybe I just wanted it to be over. He stepped onto the bus without a word. He didn't look at me, didn't smile, just walked straight to the back, sat in the same seat, and placed his hands flat on his knees, like he was waiting. I checked the mirror a dozen times on that ride. None of the other kids looked at him. No one whispered. No one asked who he was. It was like he wasn't there at all. But I could see him. I could hear the faint creak of the vinyl seat under his weight. I watched his breath fog the window. When we pulled up to the school, the kids got off as usual, but not him. He stayed in his seat, staring forward. You getting off? I asked. He didn't move. I stepped out of the driver's seat and walked toward him, one slow step at a time. The aisle felt longer than usual, quieter. I stopped at the last row, but the seat was empty, completely, utterly empty. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in my house seemed louder than usual. The wind outside, the clock ticking in the kitchen, the whisper of dry leaves scraping across the porch. I turned on the TV just for the noise, but it didn't help. I kept hearing a voice in the back of my head, flat, patient. Let me in. At 1 a.m, I got up and opened the drawer. The notebook was gone. I searched the entire house, the trash, the laundry, under the couch cushions. It was just gone. But when I went out to the bus the next morning, there it was, right there on my seat. That day, 3 different kids told me they'd had nightmares. Jared, the quiet one with the earbuds, said he dreamed of someone crawling up from under his bed and whispering in a voice that wasn't human. Chloe told me there was a boy knocking on her window at night, a boy with no mouth, and Bethany just cried when she got on the bus. Wouldn't say a word. I reported it. I told the school counselor. She said it was seasonal stress, that the desert plays tricks on people when the heat changes, that kids pass along scary stories like colds. But the next morning, I found something worse. A handprint on the inside of the back window. Small, pale, fingers too long, pressed against the glass like someone had leaned against it from the inside. And below it, scratched into the frame of the seat. Let me iron that Friday. I drove the bus like I always did, but I didn't stop at his corner, not this time. And this time, he didn't just watch me pass. He stepped onto the road. He walked after the bus. I watched him in the mirrors walking calmly down the middle of the cracked pavement. Same hoodie, same pale eyes, never speeding up, never slowing down. I turned a corner and lost sight of him. When I looked again, he was there closer. I pressed the gas harder. The kids didn't say a word. No one saw him but me. That night, I locked the doors, shut the blinds, left all the lights on, slept with the TV on full volume. Didn't help. At 3:11 a.m., I woke up to the sound of knocking. Not on the front door, on the window, my bedroom window. 3 knocks, slow, measured. I froze. Then came the voice low, whispering, just outside the glass. "Let me in, Miss Lane." Asterisk. I didn't open the curtain. I just stood there, frozen, staring at the pale fabric of my bedroom drape glowing under the porch light. 3 more knocks. A pause. Then the voice again, closer this time, right against the glass. "Let me in, Miss Lane." Soft, polite, patient. I backed away, heart hammering so hard I could barely breathe. I made it to the hallway before I heard the front door creak. Not knock, creak, like it was opening on its own. I grabbed the landline, hands shaking, and punched in 911. Dead line, no tone, no click, just silence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of my living room with a broomstick in one hand and the fireplace poker in the other, waiting for a sound that never came. But when the sun rose and I finally worked up the courage to check the windows, I found muddy footprints on the back porch. Small ones. Bare. I told the school I was sick and didn't drive the route that day. The district scrambled to find a sub, and the parents were pissed. But I didn't care. I stayed in bed, curtains drawn, barely breathing, waiting to hear that voice again. By the time evening came, I almost believed I'd imagined it, until I saw the notebook again, right there, on my kitchen table, open this time only. One sentence written on the newest page. "I'm already on the bus." I returned to work the next day. I told myself that whatever this was, I had to finish the route. That if I ignored it, maybe it would go away. Denial is a funny thing. It'll keep you warm at night, right up until the moment it doesn't. The kids boarded the bus like normal, but none of them smiled. Not one. Even Chloe wouldn't look me in the eye. Her twin sat next to her, holding her hands so tight their knuckles were white. Halfway through the route, I looked in the mirror, and there he was, sitting in the back row, the pale boy, hoodie up, eyes staring out the window. No one else looked at him. I gripped the wheel harder, trying not to swerve. Then I heard his voice clear as day, though his mouth never moved. "Let me drive, Miss Lane." I almost slammed on the brakes. Instead, I kept driving. I didn't look back again. That night, I stayed in the bus. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could confront it, end it. Maybe I thought it was me, losing my mind, and I needed to prove it one way or another. I parked out in the lot, behind the district office, and locked myself in. Just me and the empty seats. I turned off all the lights and waited. Around 2 a.m., the bus groaned. The metal frame creaked, like someone had stepped inside, but the doors hadn't moved. I flicked on my flashlight and shone it down the aisle. No one. But the air felt colder, heavy, like something was sitting in the silence with me. Then came the voice just behind my ear. "Let me drive." I screamed, loud, ran off that bus faster than I've ever moved in my life. The next morning, I told the district I was resigning. No notice, no explanations. I told them I was leaving the state. They didn't ask questions. Maybe they could tell by the look in my eyes. Or maybe they already knew. But here's the thing. That was months ago. I moved in with my sister in Oregon, got a job at a gas station, started therapy, tried to forget. But a few days ago, I saw a school bus drive past the station where I work. Just a regular yellow bus. Nothing special. except when I looked through the back window. I swear I saw a pale face staring out. No mouth, just eyes. And last night, on my way home, there was a notebook waiting on the passenger seat of my car. One sentence, written over and over. "It's your turn to drive, Miss Lane." I used to tell myself it was just the heat, that the desert does something to your brain after a while, dries it out, cooks it like meat under glass. That maybe I'd been driving that same route for too long. Same road, same dust, same kids, same empty seat. It's funny. You can get used to anything if it happens often enough. Even seeing someone who shouldn't be there. Even a boy who never ages, who never blinks, who never speaks. But last Thursday, something changed. It was a late afternoon. Run, my last for the day. The sun was melting behind the cliffs, and the sky looked like a dirty bruise, yellow, purple, and sickly red. We were on Route 84, heading toward the final few drop-offs. I had 6 kids left, or maybe 5. I don't remember letting him on. That's the thing that keeps gnawing at me. I don't remember stopping, but when I glanced at the rearview mirror, there he was, back row, seat 13. I remember that seat because the vinyl's torn, and there's dried gum stuck under the armrest. But it was clean that day, almost fresh. He was staring straight ahead, no expression, just like before. And this time, he was smiling. Asterisk, I don't mean a regular smile. Not a kid's grin, or something shy and harmless. It was off, wide, dry, and too calm. Like he'd been waiting a long time for something, and finally saw it coming. I cleared my throat. "Hey buddy, you got on at Seneca Ridge." He didn't move. I slowed the bus, pulled over near a lonely stretch of road, with nothing but cactus and sand on either side. The kids got quiet. That strange kind of quiet you only hear in a church, or a hospital, or a place where people realize something isn't right. I stepped into the aisle, took a few slow steps back. Every instinct in me told me not to look him in the eye, but I did. His pupils were huge, too big for his face. His skin looked, this is going to sound crazy new, like wax. Like something molded to look human, but not quite. And his smile stretched further as I approached. "You're not supposed to be here," I said. His mouth opened, he whispered. "I never left." Asterisk, I staggered back, heart hammering. The rules. I hadn't thought about them in days, but I remembered them now, clear as glass. Rule number 4. Never speak to the boy if he sits in the back row. Rule number 7. If he smiles, you're too late. I turned away taut fast. The rest of the kids sat like statues, not even breathing. One little girl had tears in her eyes, but she didn't make a sound. I got back in my seat, turned the key. The engine refused to start. Tried again. Click, click. Third time, the bus roared to life, but the interior lights began flickering. A strange static poured out of the overhead speaker. No music, no radio, just whispers. Whispering that sounded like my own voice, repeating the same word. Drive. Asterisk, I didn't remember turning off Route 84, but we weren't on it anymore. The pavement had crumbled away. No signs, no fences, just packed dirt and thorny brush, stretching out like a wound in the desert. The GPS blinked out. Phone, dead. Radio, static. And still, the kids didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't move. Except him. He had stood up. In the mirror, I saw his reflection. His head was tilted, and his face no longer looked like a child's. It looked like mine. I gripped the steering wheel harder than I ever had. My knuckles cracked. Sweat was dripping into my eyes, and every few seconds, I heard something behind me. Not footsteps, something wetter, slower, like something crawling across the seats. I couldn't stop. I didn't dare stop. And then I saw it, a sign, half buried in dust. Last stop, painted in red. We pulled into what looked like an old gas station, surrounded by empty buildings. A diner, a church, a few houses with boarded-up windows. No lights, no birds, not even wind. I opened the bus doors automatically, like my hands weren't mine. The boy stepped off first. The moment his shoes touched the ground, the other kids began crying silently. Still no sound, just tears, as if their voices had been taken away. One by one, they followed him out, eyes vacant. I tried to stop them. I shouted, begged. I even tried to physically block the aisle, but my body wouldn't move, like the whole bus had turned against me. And then I was alone. I sat there frozen, staring at the empty seats, until I felt breath on my neck. Section 6, the final rule. I spun around, no one there, but something had been. I could feel it. That sticky, awful feeling you get after someone whispers too close to your ear. I looked down and found a folded piece of paper on the seat behind me. I picked it up. It was the rule book, the one I'd thrown away 2 weeks ago. Same handwriting, same stained paper. But now, a new rule was added at the bottom, in red ink. Rule number 10. If they all leave the bus, you must go with them, or be replaced. My stomach dropped. I looked up and saw someone sitting in the driver's seat, someone wearing my face. Asterisk, I don't know how long I've been driving this route. The desert looks the same every time. The road stretches on, but never leads out. The bus fills up with kids who don't remember how they got here, and always. He's in the backseat 13, smiling, sometimes. I pass another bus going the opposite way. I think it's me, or someone who used to be me. But I can't stop driving. Not unless someone else breaks the rule. Not unless someone new speaks to the boy, makes eye contact, responds when he smiles. Then maybe, just maybe, I can leave. So if you ever find yourself driving down Route 84 in Arizona, and you see a boy standing alone at a dusty stop, with a smile that doesn't belong to a child, keep driving, or take my place.